Tim, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for joining.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you much for the,
thank you for the invite. And it's a real pleasure to be following Hazel, whose work I've known obviously for a very long time, and is, as you say, an environmental hero. Let me just place in context the new book, Post-Growth: Life After Capitalism. When 10 years or so ago, I was working as Economics Commissioner to the UK Sustainable Development Commission. And my work at that time was looking at precisely that question that Hazel was talking about, the relationship of the real economy, the GDP economy, if you like, the monetary economy, to the finite dimensions of the planet. And that work culminated in the publication of a book called Prosperity Without Growth. It was a challenging book for a government advisor to put out, particularly at that time, because it was exactly as the financial crisis was at its height, and it was a very difficult argument for politicians to listen to. But what was surprising about the book, that earlier book, is actually that it found a wide audience amongst a very different population, not particularly politicians, not particularly economists, although increasingly economists have begun to address those arguments, but amongst a wide variety of ordinary people to whom it's actually blindingly obvious that your economy just cannot go on expanding year after year when you're living on a finite planet. And when you're measuring the wrong things, as Hazel has reminded us, then you're not paying attention to the damage that the economy is doing either to the planet or indeed to people. And it was partly because of the wide public reception that Prosperity Without Growth had that I decided to write Post-Growth much more as a book for that wider public. Prosperity Without Growth was written for a government. It was had statistics, it had economics, it had economical arguments, it was full of policy prescriptions. It was, if you like, a kind of roadmap towards a different kind of economy. And this book is not written for policymakers. It isn't stock full of statistics. It doesn't weigh you down with economics. I do address some economics in it, but it's much more, to me, a book written for that unexpected audience that the previous work had. And it undertakes, I think, a deeper task, a more philosophical task. And that, again, was a lesson of the 10 years since I wrote Prosperity Without Growth, is I began to understand that the way that change happens and the way that influence happens is not in the way perhaps that I hoped it might happen when I wrote Prosperity Without Growth. I kind of hoped that if I made strong enough arguments, wrote the book well, my statistics were unassailable, then I would be able to persuade politicians to make change. And watching the reasons why that change hasn't happened was another of the reasons why I wrote Post-Growth, because it became clear to me that we have a deeper task to address. And that task is the task of understanding how we have been captured by that economics at the top of Hazel's layer cake, and how we've neglected the economics below the line, the love economy, the nature economy that Hazel was talking about. And so Post-Growth is really an exploration of those deeper issues. It's an exploration of the values underlying our economic systems. And it's also a book which draws together the insights from some of the people who've influenced me over the course of the years. And they are men and women from very different cultures, very different ages, who have had extraordinary thoughts about the one simple question: how should we live on a finite planet? And given us an enormous resource, I think, for us to think about that question more deeply now. And that's what I hope Post-Growth achieves. So I'm going to stop there.